Hello, audioholics. This is Logan, and today I'm going to be doing the wrong opinion on Led Zeppelin. Now, Led Zeppelin is a band that many people, younger and older than I am, have a lot of fond memories with. I have been a fan ever since I was a little kid. I grew up, like most people did, obviously listening to the hits, Black Dog, Stairway to Heaven, things like that. And as I got older, especially around when I started getting into high school, I really got into these guys. That's when I listened to every single album on repeat. And, you know, they're an amazing band. It's very, very rare that you have a band that is this cohesive and has made this few bad albums. In fact, they have made no bad albums. You know, that's truly pure craftsmanship, I think. You know, something like that only happens when the chemistry is intact, and it was. And that's why, you know, when John Bonham unfortunately passed away, there was just no way for them to continue. So I'm going to be doing the least best to best albums. Again, there are no bad Led Zeppelin albums. All of these studio albums. And the first one we will get into is Coda. This came out in 1982 after the before-mentioned death of John Bonham. And some people, I don't think, consider this, or don't give it enough credit anyway, as being a Led Zeppelin album. I think a lot of people just kind of consider this to be just sort of the table scraps of what they had just kind of going in from older sessions, from older albums. This does not get enough credit. This is a Led Zeppelin album, pure and simple. It flows coherently. It has a lot of good songs that could have easily made it on earlier Led Zeppelin albums. There's even a really good tribute to Bonham. It's I can't remember what it is. Bonzo's Last Stand or Bonzo's March, something like that. But very cohesive album. Check it out. Led Zeppelin 3. You know, this has the Immigrant Song on it. This is definitely a very different direction from any Zeppelin album before, during, and after. Like, they said that their biggest influence for this was CSNY, Crosby, Stills, Nash. So a lot of kind of folk influence, but still with their heavy hard rock blues influence all meshed throughout. Immigrant Song is obviously the standout, Since I've Been Loving You. Actually, a song that is not on this album but was released as a single on the B-side of Immigrant Song, Hey Hey What Can I Do, really should have been on this album. It is a fantastic song. I don't know why that song didn't make the cut, but some other ones on here did. But aside from that, you know, Gallows Pole, just amazing album. Then we have Physical Graffiti. This was Led Zeppelin at their most experimental. You know, they had Kashmir, which had a full orchestra. You had Custard Pie and Trampled Underfoot, which was kind of blues-esque, you know, kind of innuendo. music, sort of slick blues. 10 Years Gone, amazing song. I said Custard's Pie. The Wonton song. Houses of the Holy, which I assume was supposed to be on the Houses of the Holy album, but instead made it on here. Still a very good song. I mean, it's a double album. Dances with Stu. There's so many songs on this album, and it's more so than any Led Zeppelin album, just a musical trip. If you want what is essentially kind of the Led Zeppelin White Album, give this a shot. We have In Through the Outdoor in its paper sleeve. There, I don't want to necessarily take this out all the way, but there you go. I think this paper sleeve is pretty uncommon because it's not always there. In Through the Outdoor. I listen to this album maybe a little bit more so than other people do. It is one of my favorites, and I think if I'm in the right mood, I would even say my favorite. That just shows how amazing Led Zeppelin's catalog is. All of My Love, standout track. Fool in the Rain, Hot Dog, In the Evening, all very good. A lot of longer songs. I mean, you know, a lot of people say, like, Stairway to Heaven is a long song. You know, In the Evening is another very long song. All of My Love is relatively long, considering, you know, it's just a typical kind of pop rock song. I guess almost sort of going into new wave. It was around that time, 1979. Again, very good album. The last Led Zeppelin album. I guess some would say official Led Zeppelin album. Definitely the last album made before the death of John Bonham. But a very good album. Next, Led Zeppelin 1 with the Picture of the Hindenburg. Their first album, 1969, came swinging in right out of the gate with Good Times, Bad Times, Communication Breakdown, Dazed and Confused, How Many More Times, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. That might be one of my favorite. I mean, I don't even know. I can't pick a favorite song. There's just so many good songs on this album. You know, Black Smoke Mountains. And yeah, a lot of people are gonna say, oh, well, they ripped most of these off. They're blues artists. They all ripped each other off. You know, like, you're gonna sit here and tell me that the Rolling Stones didn't make a bunch of covers in their first, 2-3 albums. The Beatles, I mean, like, Twist and Shout, Money, Roll Over Beethoven, a lot of bands make covers and things on their first album. Granted, maybe they could have put in some credits right out of the gate, acknowledge who they were taking music from, but it's sort of an homage to the Howlin' Wolves and people that inspired them. Joan Baez, people like that. But it's a band that's really kind of found their place right out of the gate. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you have people like Jimmy Page, who already kind of had some work with the Yardbirds, John Paul Jones, who had done a lot of things, did bass actually for Hurdy Gurdy Man with Donovan. I would say probably his most notable work before Led Zeppelin. But so many great songs. Listen to this if you want to listen to a killer blues album. Presence. This is the most underrated Led Zeppelin album, by far. Achilles' Last Stand is a good candidate for best song of all time. And then you have just Candy Shop Rock, or Candy Store Rock, I believe it's called. T for Two. Great music. Achilles' Last Stand, I think, is like the #1 reason to listen to this album. It is an epic. It's like 10 minutes long. Not only the best work from Led Zeppelin, specifically on this song, but through the entire album. Like, this came out right after Physical Graffiti, which was a really experimental album. And this kind of dialed it back to the basics. This was just a straight-up blues hard rock album, taking in, kind of coming around full circle, taking in everything they learned up to this point, how to write lyrics coherently. Guitar is top-notch. Drums are some of the best of all time. Bass is, bass is extremely just galloping, just throughout the entire album. This is, I would say, the most consistently talented album of their discography. Led Zeppelin 2. Whole Lot of Love. Lemon Song. What Is and What Should Never Be. That was... Guys, if you ever want a good stereo test for headphones or a pair of speakers, listen to the end of What Is and What Should Never Be. Like the... It's kind of has the same effect as Dark Side of the Moon would have years later, especially with the song Money. But beyond that, Moby Dick is a very good instrumental. Heartbreaker, Livin' Lovin' Made. Bring It On Home. Amazing song. Just amazing guitar riffs from Jimmy Page. The mixing for the first two albums was really interesting too, because they had like a microphone right above John Bonham's drum set. So the drumming just tears through the mix. I cannot say just enough good about Led Zeppelin 2. Listen to this album if you already haven't. A Whole Lot of Love is the thing that put them on the map, but this entire album is pretty good. I would say maybe if there was one weak track, I would say skip Thank You. I remember reading something that said skip Moby Dick. Are you serious? Like, Moby Dick, like, fine, whatever, it's an instrumental. It's a good instrumental! It's a good instrumental. It showcases the talent of Led Zeppelin and kind of braces people for what would come to be with this band. Houses of the Holy, what is playing right now. Another candidate for best Led Zeppelin song. In fact, I would say the best Led Zeppelin song. No Quarter. It actually took many years for that song to grow on me, because it's kind of different from not only Led Zeppelin, but just kind of unique in its own right. Just the guitar tone, the various effects, The eerie atmosphere of it, you know, Led Zeppelin had always kind of, you know, they did a lot of Norse-related songs. Most famously, "Immigrant Song." No Quarter is the best, lyrically, instrumentally, and then you have so many good songs, like the one that's playing right here, "Over the Hills and Far Away." Um, "Dancing Days," the song remains the same. "The Ocean." Um, "Dire Maker," which many Americans pronounce as "Dire Maker." I actually read a thing where Robert Plant says that it's supposed to be said sort of with a British accent. So, Jamaica. Jamaica. Kind of a little bit of a pun. I didn't notice that until actually a few months ago, and it blew my mind. It's absolutely stupid, dad joke level material, but still pretty cool. The song's terrible, though. But there's so many good songs on this album that it hardly even matters. Again, "No Quarter." All of these great songs. Check it out. And then finally, the best of the best. The best Led Zeppelin album of all time until next week when I change my mind. Zeppelin 4, or sometimes just known as Untitled. The story behind that, actually. A lot of people say about, you know, their albums is that they only sell on the singles. So, like, people only buy Led Zeppelin albums. This was the, you know, the harsh critics saying this. People only buy Led Zeppelin albums for the singles. Like, people only bought Led Zeppelin 2 for Whole Lot of Love. People only bought Led Zeppelin 3 for Immigrant Song. Zeppelin kind of tried to pull a prank on these critics by just having no discernible marking, not only on the album itself, but, or, not even on the sleeve itself, but even on the album. You can see that there's not really a title, it's just the symbols that would eventually become synonymous with the band. Speaking of hits, though, I mean, Black Dog, Stairway to Heaven, you know, it's one of those songs you have to learn how to play on guitar. If you play guitar even slightly, you know, you want to impress a girl, learn Stairway to Heaven or Wonderwall or something like that. And then besides that, you have Misty Mountain Hop, When the Levee Breaks. Such a great cover of that song, that Robert Johnson song. Going to California, that's actually my dad's favorite. Four Sticks, The Battle of Evermore, Rock and Roll. I just listed all the songs on the album. If you have a set of eardrums, listen to this album. You will not regret it. If you're interested in softer, more acoustic songs, they have Going to California and like the first half of Stairway to Heaven. If you want a really hard rockin' song, Black Dog, Rock and Roll, When the Levee Breaks, that song just shreds. Like, they recorded it in the middle of like this, you know, abandoned, supposedly haunted house. And you can hear like the drums just echoing through the, you know, hollow, desolate walls. Fantastic album. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and goodbye.